Migrating to Australia, the only podcast in Australia. Oh no, what's he done? he's turned himself off. And here we are. We're live. And I've got him back.
I'm not going to touch anything anymore. Sorry, guys.
Let me start that again. Migrating to Australia, the podcast, the only podcast in Australia where we talk to the leading European chefs who are giving us such great food in Melbourne, and where we make lots of jokes about George Columbaris. Or I do anyway. I'm Grant Williams. I'm not the expert, but every time we sit down and do this, I'm joined by Australia's migration titan, the great David Bongiorno. Hello, David.
Grant, how are you? You well? You keeping COVID safe, mate?
Mate, well, as you know, I'm out here right in the middle of the COVID hot zone, and yes, everything's
good man. Good man. Fine. Great to see that mask. We've got a special guest today, very special guest, all the way from Italy. He runs a restaurant in Richmond, Victoria. Nicola Romano, chef extraordinaire. Welcome to Migrating to Australia podcast.
Thank you, guys. It's a pleasure to be on your podcast. Thank you.
And because I'm the Aussie on the panel, I'll be referring to Nicola as Nick.
Nick, yeah, that's perfect. That's my name now.
I've had the pleasure of eating, Grant, at Nick's restaurant, and I suppose the thing that excites me is what would you say it is? It's not your typical Italian restaurant. I mean, your restaurant is very personal to you.
Yes.
Can you tell us what it came from? Then we'll get back into migration. But because you're here you're in your restaurant now, aren't you?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Okay.
Hold on, Dave. Just so Nick can fill me in. I'm pretty familiar, having been a resident in several parts of Richmond. Nick, whereabouts are you?
Well, we are actually opposite the airport hospital.
Oh, okay.
Towards the end of East Melbourne, close to Mount Road. Yeah. And we are actually next door to the Mount View Hotel.
Yep. Next to Barassa's pub.
Yeah, not far, correct.
Yeah, not far. Yeah.
Just down the hill from, there's a couple of clothes boutiques there, and
yeah, correct. Yeah.
And just near the marvelous Hollywood Palace. Although I think the Hollywood Palace is gone now.
Close by, yeah.
Yeah. Hollywood Palace has gone to God. That was a great place for souvlaki. But today,
well, we always funny because we normally on the weekend after service we normally go there at midnight to have our souvlaki.
That's right, best souvenir.
Yeah.
This is a restaurant, a very personal project to you. It's your business. Is this the first restaurant you've owned and run?
Yes, first restaurant, first baby, and it's happening here in Melbourne. I always thought it was gonna be in Italy, my first restaurant, but life is funny. So.
What made you come halfway around the world to do it?
Well, I actually been traveling for the past 15 years now, and while I was back in Italy before I moved to Australia, I was working in this place in Tuscany, and I met my previous partner, and she had a dream to live outside Italy. She never done it before, and because she knew that there was we still had like a couple of years gap before the working holiday visa for Australia was ending for our age situation. She was like, why we just don't go to Australia? I've heard amazing things about it, and it will be good for us to go somewhere where you haven't been living before. And I was like, why not? Let's just give it a try. And my idea was to come here, do the working holiday, and then maybe go back home to Italy and settle things there. But things change, and I got not lucky to be sponsored straight away as soon as I arrived in Australia, and then things they just developed to what we are today. So.
How long now, Nick, have you been in Australia now?
December, the 5th of December will be 7 years.
7 years.
7 years, man. They're flying.
That's a long time.
Well, it's the longest that I lived in another country that is not Italy. So yeah, very very interesting situation.
Nick, so you decided to come out with a girlfriend at the time, and
Yes, correct.
and do the working holiday visa.
Yeah.
There's two questions here for you.
Yeah.
One is, when you arrived here, how was the Australia of the reality compared to the Australia that you had thought you knew before you arrived?
To me, yeah.
And then what's been your progression from the working holiday visa and until now? What's been your progression through the migration system?
Yeah.
So what did you think about Australia before you touched down?
Yeah. Okay. So before I came to Australia, before my ex-partner, I had an Australian girlfriend back in Ireland, and she's from Brisbane, Lauren, and she always said to me, "I think you will love Melbourne." She was like, "You need to go to Australia. You need to go and live in Melbourne. It's the most European city in Australia, the closest one to what you can experience in Europe." She was like, "I think it will be a fit for you. You're gonna do really well in your career. It's gonna be so many doors open for you. It's still a country that is in development, is growing, so there's a lot of opportunity." And then, when my ex-girlfriend, she was like, "Let's go there," I was like, "All right, let's try." When we arrived here, first year, I think I was in Wonderland. It was the best, probably one of the best year of my life. It was amazing, beautiful country, beautiful city. I think I was in Melbourne. Just won for the second or the third time in a row, best livable city in the world. And it was actually really good. But then, you start to have your, the downside. You start to actually get into the system, realizing that, you're still a foreigner person in a different country. So you're not being seen the same way of Australian. You don't have the same access to, things that Australian are, fair enough. And then, the visa situation slowly started to become a real kind, not an issue, but it was something that we needed to face if we wanted to stay permanently to Australia or just go back home. And then when things they start to go a bit, realizing that Australia is still it's a really nice country to live, but it's no different than any other country that I've been in. They have their ups and downs. They got their problem. It's not perfect. So
what was the visa pathway that you went through, and how difficult was it to negotiate that pathway?
Well, at the start was actually pretty easy, because I've been offered the sponsorship, and I think was still when the Labour, maybe the last Labour Party was on, and things that were still a bit more smooth as a visa situation. While then I think it was Tony Abbott or something like that, down the road things they start to get a bit more tighter and tighter and tighter until as today. I think today for an Italian or whoever comes to Australia is way different than 10 years ago to be getting into the system, way more difficult. And yeah, I got offered a sponsorship went through. Unfortunately, though, the restaurant that I was working for closed down, so my visa was up in the air. And they give you three months to find another business that can sponsor you. If not, you're out of the country. And things that start to get a bit scary, and especially when you're planning to stay here. And then eventually I found someone else to sponsor me, and that's where the same restaurant where I met Osvaldo. But 1 year and a half down the track, the owners of the restaurant, they didn't do their calculation, their accounting properly, and they had to close down the restaurant. And even then, I was out from cooking for a while, because I had to find a new new sponsor. And then again, I found someone as a sponsor. It was a bit of a up and down, a very, very frustrating situation. It was very psychologically, it was very, very hard to handle sometimes.
Very
Now,
stressful.
David,
It is very stressful.
I can't let that one pass, David.
It's not in your hands. It's something that unfortunately you can't really control. I mean, it's hard.
That's something.
Sorry,
Nick,
David.
Grant's got something he's excited.
I cannot let that one pass. The restaurant that didn't do their books properly, it wasn't George Columbaris, was it?
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't him. No.
Nicola, you've raised some really interesting points. It has been an extensive journey, and as you point out, an up and down journey. What would you say to young Italians, young people from anywhere who are wanting to do the work and holiday or working holiday visa? What would you say with the benefit of your 7 years experience in Australia? What would you say to them if they're listening and thinking of coming for an adventure?
Well, if that's the thing, if you're coming for an adventure and you set your goals and you say, I'm going for a working holiday visa, I'll stay 1 year and I might do farming works to gain a second year. I don't know if it's still working the same. I'm pretty sure it's still kind of the same of what it used to be. And you just want to travel. You see it as I'll go to Australia and I'll travel Australia and I'll see the beauty of Australia. Just do it. It's a beautiful place to come. It's a beautiful place to go and visit. Don't be silly like me that it took me 4 years to leave Melbourne and waste. I mean, the beauty that is out there, because the real Australia is not Melbourne, it's not Sydney. You gotta go up to the Northern Territory, go to the Gold Coast. That's why. If you take it as an adventure, I say come. But if you take it as a career and I want to live there for good, well, I will think about it twice before I'll do that big jump. Unless you're someone that he has a very good curriculum and he has an opportunity with the jobs that they got, like the chances for you to stay and sponsor you properly, you can. But if not, just come and do your year or 2 years and then maybe go somewhere else. Sorry.
Do you think people underestimate the complexity of the Australian visa system? Once they get here, it's only when they get here they seem to find out how complex it is.
Yeah, because it's something that if you're like a European person, like me in this case, if I want to go and live in Dublin or in Paris, I can just jump on the plane and go there and live there with not many issues. But if you're an Aussie going to Europe, it's pretty much the same for an Italian to come to Australia. You gotta face the fact that you're not part of the community. I mean, in that case, the European community, or in Australia, are part of the Australian system. So it's hard. I mean,
you mentioned that it's as you've gone further into the system and got closer and closer with each visa. You mentioned that things have changed and you've become aware of how tough it actually is here. What is entitlement to benefits, capacity to open business? What's been the biggest struggle in Australia for you?
Well, in this today, I don't have job. I own a restaurant. I pay my taxes. I do everything, but I'm not entitled for any government support. So that's why we're trying to do these takeaway meals, just at least to pay my wages, because if we don't do that, I don't have any money to come into my pocket. And I got a family. I've got a partner that she's from my wife. She's from New Zealand, Nina, and I've got a kid that he was born in Australia, but it's not Australia. So it's a very, if it's not complicated, it's not in Nick's system. I mean, let's say I always find the hardest way to get to do things done. But it's that's what it is. I decided to stay here and try to have this dream to come through as the restaurant. And it's probably the last. Sorry, maybe 2018. I think it's been probably the most struggle year for my visa situation. when I was leaving, I think we were already dealing together. You know better than me the situation that I've been through the last place that I was working psychologically, and
Absolutely.
So it was a bit. It was a very hard year for me. I had to ask for help as well. I was going to a psychologist. It seems people they found it's a visa what you want it to be. No, it's a life. It's not just a piece of paper. I mean, it's people's life, and especially for someone that it's so committed to stay here and make it work, like me in this case. I found it very, very hard that whoever is in the immigration system above the immigration law still don't understand that I'm just the same as you are. I mean, I contribute to every day as any other Australian does. So.
And you employ Australian permanent residents, Australian citizens as well, don't you?
Yes, we do. Yeah.
I was telling Grant before the podcast about your beautiful restaurant. Can you elaborate for Grant and everybody listening about your style, the region of... You're from Brescia, so is it Brescia cooking, or can you explain it to us?
Well, it's always hard when people ask you what's your style of cooking. It's something very, very personal and very hard to describe. But I think in a nutshell, I can say that my cooking is can be simple but not obvious. So it's something that you can find like traditional recipes, but like twisted and make them in a modern key. And because I'm Italian doesn't mean that my food is 100% Italian. Most of my experience they have been in outside Italy. I actually worked a very small amount in Italy comparing my experience outside Italy. So I worked in Spain, I worked in Ireland, I worked in Greece, I worked in Middle East. When I was working outside Italy, I've met other chefs that they were from other countries, from Australia, from New Zealand, from Sri Lanka, from India. So I think my cooking, it got a bit of bits and pieces, like a fusion type of cooking. So, and that's what I wanted to transmit to people here at Oster. So we are an unconventional Italian restaurant, let's say like that. So we know how to cook our Italian food, but it's twisted. It has a lot of different influences and a lot of new techniques. And we do a lot. Like most of the things that we do are done in the house, like our bread, our fermenting. We start now that we are in lockdown. We are even starting to do our own drinks, like tonics and rhubarb wines and different stuff. So yeah, we want to be there. We want to be all with the top names of the culinary scene of Australia. So yeah, it's gonna be a long journey, especially because COVID stopped everything for us. He actually put us in this bubble that it's hard to burst. But hopefully we will get back there again. So yeah.
Nick, how long since you've actually been back in Italy for a visit?
Okay, last time it took me 4 years to go back home since I arrived to Australia. So mom and dad they came to see me before. So last time that I went there was 3 years ago.
And with family still in Italy, we saw those terrible visions of how COVID had affected parts of Italy, especially northern Italy.
Yeah.
How are your family and your friends back home coping with COVID, and what have they told you is different, or how have you sort of ascertained what is different with how the community in Italy is coping with how we're coping with it here in Melbourne?
Yeah. Well, so the first thing that I can tell you that I had to change my view about COVID. So when COVID started and Italy got in the middle of the pandemic, I was one of those people saying, well, it's just a flu, it's gonna go, you gotta let it go the course, blah, 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 blah. and you talk over on social media, and your friends see things what happened, but you're not there. You're not actually feeling what they're feeling, what's happening. And one is like, "Oh, Nick, you shut up. You better listen. This is happening. It's true. It's very bad." My mom, she was like very, my mom, she has an immune disease situation, so she's very. She needs to be very careful, especially with COVID. And so she was like, "Nick, you gotta be careful." And then, things they got out of control in Italy. And I'm actually from one of the main city in Italy, Bergamo, where COVID was like a deadly killer out there. And so family friends, and especially like very good friends of mine, they lost their father, lost grandfathers, grandmothers. A very good friend of my father that he actually came here 3 years ago to visit him in Melbourne. He died at 58. No previous anything wrong with him. 3 days gone for the COVID, and this happened like a month and a half ago. So you're not talking about like 2-3 months ago when the things they were like really bad. So I was like, God, no, this is pretty shit. I mean, it's not good, especially when there's dead people. It's not good. And luckily, family itself, it's fine. Everyone in the family are safe. The economy, unfortunately, had a very bad consequences, and especially my dad, he has 2 businesses, been there for like 40 years. He had a bit of a fall down for a couple of months, but then he was able to, luckily, to get back on track, and they're really busy now. And but it's what they lost in that time, that the government is not really there to help them. I mean, it's not whatever they're doing here, for example, if you want to compare here, it's a bit better than what they're doing there. Like, I got friends that have been home for 5 months and they didn't got any money as they're supposed to be getting paid by the government. So, it's hard. It's not only about the virus. The virus created other situation where makes it hard for people to live. So, yeah, I still think it's bad, really bad. And I've got friends that they think that it's a conspiracy. So, and I'm like, please don't. I mean, don't even start it. Like, come on, don't. So I
simply can't understand people who think that this thing is a hoax. I mean,
yeah, exactly. I just don't get it as well.
I mean, what all those people who are dying in India at the moment, they're just doing it to support some political theory that's derived from America. Is that what people actually think?
Well, they actually are out there. They're out there, and they're like the people that probably they are the people that in this situation in Melbourne, especially, instead of following the rules, are the one that they're going against the rules. So, and because of these people, things are not going to be settled for small businesses like us, and that's what they don't understand. The longer they take to adapt to the rules and putting mask on and keeping safe distance and things like that, the longer will be hard for the industry to get back on their feet and have people, to still, to go back out and have the restaurant be open. And, and it's not only about our industry, it's any industry.
It's every industry. And that's the crazy thing about people who subscribe to these stupid conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
Who's benefiting?
I don't know.
It's insane. And what they don't seem to understand, their brains are so pea-sized that they can't understand that for every week that this goes on, that's thousands more businesses in every city.
Yeah.
It's not only, I mean, Victoria is a main driving economic force for the country.
Yeah.
It's people's businesses all over the country that are falling over. Correct. And as we got told yesterday in the economic update, the damage that was done in 2008 took 15 years for us to get back to the same employment situation.
Exactly.
So if we got a vaccine for COVID tomorrow, we're looking at 15 years to get back to where we were. It's going to be much more. This could be a setback of monumental proportions, and you've got idiots out there who go, "I don't want my freedom interfered with." You know?
Yeah.
Bloody idiots. I mean,
Nicola,
sorry.
tell me, you've been a chef here in Australia, you've been a chef, you did your training in Italy. You've also got Michelin star experience, haven't you?
Yes, I do. Yeah. Yeah.
Can you tell us?
Yeah. Well, I started in Italy, my own city, and I worked like a couple of years in 2 different restaurants. They were like fine dining, but not not recognized by any like Michelin star or stuff like that. And then I moved to Ireland, and I was working for a restaurant where we were a big gourmet, so it's like it's put on the guide, but it doesn't have Michelin star. But that was the time when I realized, okay, I want to do this job until I can, because I was training the chefs that I was a big brigade with like 15 chefs, and most of them that were like Michelin star trained or working in Michelin star previously. So it was like a softer environment, but with Michelin star chef working in it. So you have both. You understand how to run a busy restaurant, but without compromising the quality, and still have the good quality of a Michelin star place. You know what I mean? So that's when I started to, and then I decided, you're gonna make sacrifice. So I went to work. I worked in Martin Barasategui. It was 3 Michelin star in the Basque Country, Lasarte, San Sebastian. And then when I was back home in Italy, when I was in Tuscany, we were collaborating with Enoteca Pinchiorri, that is a 3 Michelin star restaurant in Italy, historical, one of the biggest wine cellar as a restaurant in the world. And then I went up to London to work at Viaggiante as an intern. What was 1 Michelin star, and at the time we were 56th best restaurant in the world. Amazing experience where I probably very humble chefs, very, very nice environment to work with, amazing food. That was beautiful. And then and then I went to work back in Tuscany, and we didn't got the Michelin star there for some God knows reason why, but we will have deserved it. But anyway, that's.
What does your Michelin star training, your Michelin star experience, what do you bring from that to your restaurant? Well,
definitely the techniques that you learn, but then I think it's Michelin star restaurant are a bit of a weird business. Most of them are actually not profitable. They don't make money, and they're there for a window for other things. So you see like very expensive products, and you can play with them, you can handle them, and you work like in big kitchen brigade for only cooking for 30 people. You got the Michelin, and not only Michelin, it's more like the high-end restaurants. The powerful thing that they have is the labor, right? So that's what I always says, even to Osvaldo when we talk, if only we had like a couple of extra chefs that we can actually be able to pay, we could do way more better than what we're doing now. Because at the end of the day, it's a consuming job. It's a consuming thing. You got to create things. To make bread, people think that, if you can make bread with instant yeast, 3 hours, it's ready. But when you have like a sourdough, it's an alive thing. It's a fermenting situation. It takes hours. It takes, you got to be there to look after him, So it's, who else is going to be there? I have to be there. But you can't spend like 15, 16 hours in the kitchen a day anymore. I mean, I won't do it. I'm getting old. I'm getting, it's mentally, it's very consuming. I think it's more a mental consuming than actually a physical consuming job, because there's a lot on the plate. There's a lot of, people, customer comes in, they expect the food beautiful there. You can't, it's not like a job that you can say, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. You know what I mean? It has to be there at the moment, and you got to give 100% to people.
MasterChef demeans your trade, demeans your profession. MasterChef makes it look easy, doesn't it?
Well, I think, you know what, even there, like MasterChef was born in Australia, the TV program. And I think as today, I don't know how long it's been going on, probably more than 10 years. And I still think the Australian version is probably the best one. If you compare it to the Italian one is disgraceful. I don't even know why they're doing it. I mean, we always flag ourselves as the best cooks in the world, the best, kitchens and the best way of eating. But then when it comes down to, I think a lot of people in Italy, they think they know how to cook, they cook, but then as a professional level, it's not the same. While here in Australia, it's more like people, I think that because it's a country that it's used to go out for food more than actually cooking food, they're actually taking things more professionally. And when they do things, actually try to make them like taste good and look good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
MasterChef in one hand, it definitely changed the perception of people to look at chefs the way that they've been looking before. Like 20 years ago, if you were a chef, no one will give a shit about you. I mean, now chefs are like rock star. Yeah, you like see like, and do we actually deserve that? No, we're just cooking food. Rockstar are the people in the front line now, like doctors, nurses, surgeons. Those are like to me the rockstar because they're the one that saves lives. They're the one that look after you. Not us. We just feed people. We just drink. Like we like the easy and fun part of life. So I think MasterChef is one end it was a hope. How do you say it wasn't good, and on the other end it was actually good for the industry to give a bit more value to what we're doing, even if I think it should be a bit lower down. I mean, we're not like these gods that they show you on TV.
Nick, you've been the backpacker working for doing itinerant jobs and doing sort of the kind of work that lots of Australians don't want to do, and now you're a restaurateur, an owner, an employer. What I constantly don't get, and we were just mentioning the concept of the celebrity chef, why is it that so many of these people who are obviously talented and really skilled with their manipulation of food and flavour, why do they then make their businesses dependent on underpaying the people who work for them and really being totally unethical? And if you've got one business that can't survive within the rules, why do they then go and open 4, 5, and 6 restaurants?
Yeah, well, it's something that I keep asking myself. The only thing that I can tell you, it's either that they definitely they can be greedy. I mean, people nowadays are not happy. Sorry.
Do they get carried away with the whole ego thing about people telling them
definitely.
that they're genius?
I think they do as well. I mean, who doesn't like to have a bit of more money in the bank? I mean, I love to have more money in the bank, but at the same time, I always see the upbringing that I had. I had a father that he gave everything for his business, and he always teach me one thing. I still remember when we were kids, if there were no money he was paying whoever had to pay, and then the family was coming.
Well, that's
so
cool.
We were the one with no freaking food on the table.
Yeah.
But look at my father 38 years down the track. He's like a well-known person. Everybody, they look up to him. He doesn't have any, and this is what I want for my business as well. I mean, it's a slow step. If you go up straight away, it's easy to burn. And that's what happened to these people. They see easy, got investors who God knows where they're coming from.
Yeah,
which money they're putting into those business, where they're coming from, those money.
I mean, that's the crazy thing, isn't it? Because if you've got 5 restaurants and they fail, you don't just lose 5 restaurants. At that stage, you're going to lose everything. So you're going to end
Exactly.
up you're going to end up being the dish pig in a kitchen. Once you've
Well,
failed from that
yeah.
height, no one's going to take you back as a superstar chef.
No, but well, I don't want to say name. It's not what I do. I don't want to, but it's those people. They're always gonna find a way to come back. I'm
But
telling you.
As David knows, and regular listeners to the podcast know, I'm always amazed that it's this industry and it's this section of the industry that relies on stealing from its employees. And I just don't understand
It's
how that
horrible. I
continues.
mean, I'm not here pro. I'm actually against it, and our restaurant is not founded on those.
Oh no! I wasn't saying that. But if you had a TV show, if you were the famous Nick with his TV show,
you know how much money you make. I can open another restaurant and be able to sustain it. But it's always that. If you make $1 million, but then you got a $6 million house, it means that $5 million. Where did you take them from?
That's right. Because,
I mean, you gotta do things for what you are allowed to do.
That's exactly right. And you can't buy a $6 million house if you're not making money in your business.
Correct. And that's an example. I mean, but on the other hand, as a restaurateur, as a chef owner of a business, I can tell you they could help us a bit more. Like the cost that a restaurant has, they're insane.
Does it happen in Italy and other parts of Europe that this kind of pattern that we see in Australia is occurring?
Probably more in Italy than here. I mean, well, we're a bigger country. We got 65 million people. I mean, there's it's bigger because it's bigger the numbers. The country is smaller, but with a bit higher population, and we've been there for ages. And I think it's not fair. It's like going back when I started training in the kitchen, and more you be yelled at, and more you think it was the right way to grow in the business, to treat people. Like more you treat, I saw people like crying in the corners, and I'm like, this is not working. And I always said to myself, because I got shit as well, but I was always trying to make myself as good as possible to don't get yelled at. But is it fair? No, it's not fair. And I always said to myself, whenever I'm going to be a business owner or whenever I'm going to be in charge of a kitchen, I will never let being allowed, because I've been the one that was yelling at people, and the only thing that you create, you can be the best chef in the world, but you're a loser, you're a dickhead. You're like, no, why someone will look up to you if you're a bad person? You want people to... You need to talk to people and get them to like the way that you train them, so they fell in love with it, and they're gonna be like, fuck, I want to learn more, and they will, instead of, if you shout, it's like a dog. If you keep shouting to a dog, the poor dog, it will close himself and will never understand. You gotta take, it's like growing with having a child to grow with you. It takes time. It's an effort, If you want your kids to grow as a a good person, you gotta take time and teach him properly. No, it's not going to happen.
Nick,
sorry, Dave, just my last thing on this. It's not really on this, but what I just heard you saying then was, if you're negative in the kitchen, if that's the kind of person you are, then your food has to suffer, doesn't it? Because the perception has always been that the good food is made with love. So if you're a chef without the love, your food should be terrible.
Well, but no, because then it comes in the professionality of someone. I mean, it's like, I don't know. I'll give you an example because it's a big name. Look at Gordon Ramsay. Gordon Ramsay is technically, and his restaurant, they're amazing. I mean, you can't fault him in any way. Sorry, but as a kitchen, like 20 years ago, as a kitchen chef, as a trainer in the kitchen, was a big piece of shit. You want it probably to be dead. You don't want to work for someone that tells you that you're a dick face every 2 seconds, that you're useless, that you're not worth anything. But I don't think it reflects. I know really good chefs that they're like terrible people, but their food is amazing. It does. I don't think it's like, it doesn't work like you're a. Yeah.
What made you come into this crazy chef world? What was the defining moment you decided I've got to become a chef?
Well, I still don't know. Well, no, I mean, I think in Italy when you're like 13, they put you in front of like the situation, the decision, what you want to do in your life, and I think you're still too young because you gotta go to secondary school, and it's actually where you start to do your basements. Like, so I choose hospitality, and I don't know. I think probably I don't have any. My father is not in the hospitality industry, neither my mom and neither my grandparents. The only person that we have that is related to food is my mom's uncle. That he used to own a restaurant. He was a restaurateur, very well known in the Lake Garda area. Was the president of the restaurateur of the Lake Garda. It was, it was a big name in Italy. But I don't think it was even that. I just think that it's something that he came and I got carry on. And as I said to you before, when I was in Ireland, I was 20, just turned 20, and I think I just said to myself, yeah, this is it makes me feel good. I always said that cooking, you need to feel it in your hands. It's not about like, how good you are. If you don't feel it, there's certain type of techniques and things that it's like it's like if your body goes into the, it's weird. It's a very weird feeling, and if you don't have that, I don't know. It's not gonna happen.
Who do you like to cook for? Where do you get your greatest pleasure when you present meals? Who do you really like to cook for?
Well, for people that they understand what's behind cooking. I mean, you don't have to be a chef to understand it, but if you have a customer that comes and he understands the struggle and the time and he appreciated every single thing that you do, it doesn't mean that he has to be good. I mean, we fail as well. I mean, I've been to restaurants that are super considered the best, and you have a tasting menu, probably like 3 dishes out of 10. Maybe they're not actually as good as the others, but that's the game. That's what we are. We're just human. We have people that have people have different taste buds, and something that you might like to, I will find that maybe not good for me. So it's when you have someone that comes into your restaurant and is open-minded and they talk to you, they give you good feedback, bad feedback, but in a positive way. That's what the people that I want to cook for, not for the one that they come in, they tell you that everything is okay, and then they walk out and maybe they write you a shit review just for the sake of doing it, and not because they actually don't have anything that ends to tell you, well, you were faulty there. You know what I mean? So
you've cooked a beautiful dish. Osvaldo and the team put it before the diner, and then the diner pulls out his or her mobile phone.
Yeah.
Spends about 7 or 8 minutes to get the perfect food shot.
Yeah.
What are you thinking in the kitchen? Are you waiting for it to be sent back to be reheated, or what happens? What goes through your mind?
Oh, well, I will not reheat it to him. I'll take it out again and I'll tell you, now you gotta eat it the way that it is. You should have eaten before. No, I don't. I think, well, my wife, she's always give me shit because I use my phone all the time, right? So imagine when you go to a restaurant and you sit down, and it should be like a convivial time, like a time to spend and talk, and and someone is with his phone all the time, and it's no, I don't think is the right way. I mean, I'm not saying that you gotta put it away. I mean, you can do whatever, but if someone takes too long to take a picture or whatever, I don't know. You gotta enjoy it. You just gotta get it and enjoy your food, and that's it.
As a chef here in Australia, how have you evolved personally?
Evolve?
Yeah, as a chef.
Well, well, we definitely, one of the things that I always wanted to do is, no matter if it was in Australia or in any other country, is to embrace whatever is the culture and the territory. So I always trying to use as much as I can of the Australian produce in this case. So that's what I think is what in my growing career. That's what I'm focusing more in, and try to do as much as I can by myself. Like, so, as I said to you before, we're doing everything. We used to do, we do butter, like we're not now, but we used to do butter. You do the pasta, we do ketchup. You do all the things that you can imagine. We are trying to do them here. So, and that's what I think it's evolving from what I used to be before to what I am now. Like, trying to embrace mostly the products and the do-it-yourself.
Are there any particular standout products here in Australia that you would have thought, gosh, these would have been very, very well put to use back in Italy? What impresses you about Australian products?
Well, I mean, wines, I think in Australia, some of the winemakers here, they're amazing. I mean, I think it's a growing country for winemaking, and especially here at Oster, we're using a lot of, our wine list is 100% Australian. We're following 3 basic stuff that Osvaldo puts in place. It has to be either organic, either not fussy on Italian variety produced in Australia, but mostly we're using Italian varieties produced in Australia, and either biodynamic or what else is Orlando? Osvaldo, the 3 keys. Single vineyard. Sorry. So, and I think wines are well made in Australia. Cheeses, I love the cheeses, the way that they do, especially the mozzarellas, guys. They're like really good. While fish, we just start to work with these guys a few months ago. They're based in South Melbourne Market and in Collingwood. The shop is called Fish Shopping, and Renee, she's Australian, and Josh is a Kiwi. They're a married couple. They're together, and they're one of the only few fish shop certified sustainable. So whatever fish comes in my doors, it's Australian certified sustainable. So, it's thanks to these people that we can, deliver whatever we do to the customer with the best of the Australian products. So meat is as well. Look, I think Australia, you can't fault here with much things about, there's a lot of very good product out there, like a lot. You just need to discover them.
Nick, sustainability is obviously important to you in the fish stocks. I don't want this to feel like an ambush question, but have you thought about your overall business sustainability? Do you think about the carbon footprint that your business overall has?
Well, sorry. Yeah,
he killed over.
Shocked him.
No. Well, we never really sat down and do it, but either Osvaldo and I, we are trying. Like, I mean, even there, if you want to, in our own little situation, we are trying to, even with the menus, just, stupid small example, papers. We're trying to print on less paper as possible. We're doing organic. When we do wastage, we have organic wastage that goes to compost. Then we have our normal wastage. We're working with producers that they're trying to be as sustainable and less footprint as well. I was actually funny because I was reading an article. I can share it with you guys later if you want, about is it actually true that buying local, it's less harmful for the environment than actually buying it from far away? I mean, they were putting out there that is actually probably not much of a difference unless you do it in a certain way. So there's always something out there to learn and try to be. But at the end of the day, we are trying. I'm a restaurateur. I need to cook food. I mean, I'm trying to do as much as I can to keep it down, but I will never be 100% perfect.
Oh, But
because it will take so much time away on another hand, and I will stop concentrating on what I'm doing. And that's when we got back with the labor situation. You know, if you create a business that is strong enough, you have enough people to look after all these sort of little bits and pieces, then yeah, you got an amazing place on world. I know restaurants, like for example, there's a restaurant in Norway or Denmark. I think it's Kado is name. And they did they're not using cling film anymore. They're not using plastic anymore. You know, those sort of things. But they're probably like 30, 40 people working in a restaurant. You know what I mean? They got the actual power to do all these things. Yeah, as I said, in our little thing, we are trying to do every day our bits to help the environment. Definitely, yeah.
That's the encouraging thing. You've just got to be mindful about what's
exactly. You got to wake up every day and think, okay, today I can do this, you know. But if everybody will do that, will be make a huge impact. But like most of the people, they don't even think about it. So,
and it's interesting, that thing about local versus further apart, because most people are only measuring food miles as their indicator of whether it's better, but it's no good getting salmon that's grown 50 miles away if it's being fed on pellets made from other fish
that's exactly right. Yeah,
that's right. So the whole chain needs to be sustainable, and it's good if people are thinking about it. And food service and food delivery is becoming a bigger and bigger part of the economy in general. So it's important for people to just think about it. And you know,
well, definitely Uber Eats and all these places, they're not helping the environment at all. You know, having people sitting in their house or home and just waiting for the food to be delivered. Well, don't get me wrong, I'll do it every now and then. But most of cases, if I can, I'll just go up the road and grab it myself. Or, you know, like it's just.
Where do you like to eat? That's a good point. Where do you go after service, or after today? Where will you have lunch or dinner?
Well, since we got married and we're having a kid, there's not much going out anymore. So yeah, but well, no. Look, I look up for quite a few chefs here in Melbourne that I think they're really good. I really love Andrew McConnell. I think he's an amazing chef, and he has very good businesses, and the food you can't fault his food in any of his restaurant that you go. Well, one of my favorite was Super Normal in Flinders Lane. Really enjoyed that. Or Marion in Gertrude Street. Yeah, but then, you know, like old timers back in the days, supper in at nighttime in Chinatown, like until 3 o'clock in the morning.
God, you have been here a long time. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's another good to go. And there's few restaurants that I would love to go and try that I haven't had the chance to go yet. Like Amaru in Armandale. What else? There's a new place in Fitzroy. I don't remember the name. But you know, there's the Melbourne food scene. It's interesting. Right? I wouldn't picture it as everybody says is the food capital of the world. I won't agree with it because it's not. Unfortunately, it's not. It's London to me. It's not Melbourne. But the good thing of Melbourne that not many places has, except like New York, big cities, it's the diversity of food. So if you want to eat a very good Thai, you can find a very good Thai. If you want to eat a very good Italian, you can find a very good Italian. You know, that's the diversity. Melbourne, Australia should be the melting pot of cultural, cultural terroir, whatever you want to call it. Like, yeah, it's
Nicola, Nicola, do many of your friends actually invite you to dinner, or are they too scared to cook for you?
Well, no, I've got a few friends that I invite for dinner. Like, you know, even when I go to Osvaldo's place, he cooks for me. Or, you know, Orlando, my bartender friend, He's a good cook as well, and I've got a few friends that I invite and cook. Yeah, but when I'm home, I always cook. Yeah. If the guys
Nina
comes
doesn't do any
over.
cooking?
No, she's good. She does cooking. Yeah, Nina, she does cooking. But I mean, if someone comes over, it's always me cooking.
Is that?
I used to be. I used to be more. I think I used to be more of a few years ago, back in the days, like to have a lot, to have people home more often. But as I say, like COVID last year, busy with the restaurant. I think the past year and a half, it's been a bit of a weird year.
How's it different cooking for friends as opposed to clients?
Well, because you can have a drink with them while you're cooking, first of all, and well, I don't know, because it's our friends are family. Friends, they're not there to judge you. While a customer, especially with me, I'm always very obsessed. Like when I see someone looking in the kitchen, I'm already like, oh my God, what we done wrong? Oh my God. But most of the time it's only just positive stuff. But it's always like this. I always have this insecurity, no matter all the years that I've been working. So it's always I always have the need to know that it's good. So
My last question. You're 100 years of age, and you've got one meal left. One meal. What would be your final meal before saying ci vediamo?
Oh my God, one meal.
Your last one.
That's a tough one, man. I have like 30 seconds to think about it.
Yeah.
Because there's too many things that I love to have. But I think I think it will be a tarte tatin, an apple tarte tatin with just chantilly cream. Yeah.
Yum.
Yeah. I think
Yum,
it will
yum.
be my to go. I've got a sweet tooth. Like I love my dessert. I'm not like candy. I'm not fan of candies and like dirty sweet stuff. More like cakes, like baked stuff and like proper desserts. So yeah, I think an apple tarte tatin will be, or a meal full. Yeah, something.
Yum,
like that.
yum.
Yeah.
Well, Nick, I've got two questions for you, and they're a bit of a tangent. I'll pose this one first because you might not want to answer it, but you mentioned that you were having a really difficult time in 2018.
Yeah.
Excuse me. How are you managing sort of the balance in your life at a time when the COVID situation has brought on such a difficult economic climate, and you've got family pressures as well? How do you manage while you're running a restaurant to keep yourself in a healthy space?
Well, look, having a kid is already a healthy space. Like I think it's something to look forward when you go home. It's always like, it's something there that doesn't think about anything. He only has smile for you, and that's the positive. That's the positive of the routine at the moment. Of course, my wife as well. She's very supportive, and lucky enough that I can talk about anything with her, and there's no limits between us, and she's from someone that wanted to move back home in New Zealand to actually be here and and stay for my dreams, and that's already a positive stuff. I can't, you gotta remember every day when you every day, like, okay, it's bad, but how much good I have at the same time. I've got a family back home that they will always back me up no matter what. Like they will always be there for me, and I'm lucky because not many people they have that. And I've got friends. I've got Osvaldo as a business partner. It's always ready for a laugh, for a chin up, and if that's not helping, you get a bottle of wine and you share it with a friend, and that's and I think what, the first COVID when COVID first kicked the economy we were in a very bad situation that we were like, fuck, what are we gonna do? Like, and we tried. We managed to go back on track, and when we reopened, we actually had the best month since we've been open. So we were able to accumulate a bit of money there, and second wave kicks in. We are on a better situation, a better position than before, but still, it's not enough to stop and be like, okay, because it's something that can go longer than what the one is being put in place with the restrictions. So, you gotta still think maybe one day something wrong could happen. Maybe, we're not gonna be able to be here in 3 months' time. But there's so many other things in life that are worse than that. The only thing that I'm scared of is death. That's the only thing that I'm shitting my pants when I think that I'm gonna die. Other than that, I'm not scared of anything. I can just climb a mountain, and I don't care. I mean, there will be a security exit door somewhere where we can just restart and come back stronger. But I think we're gonna be here. We're gonna reopen, and I'm pretty confident, and that's why I'm putting a lot of effort in this time that we're closing to actually develop new things, creating new stuff for the restaurant, making more stuff. I'm starting to do my own dishes as well, my own ceramics as well, just to have more that can talk about us. If not, there's this restaurant that you walk in and there's just like, you got a chef, you got the front of house, it's just a beauty restaurant but doesn't have a soul. I think I have a lot of soul to give to people, and I'm trying to put it out there as much as I can. So,
Well, you said you had your best week ever when you reopened. I think there's a message for you there from your customers that they obviously value you because they've supported you the minute that you opened up again.
Oh, and absolutely.
And I've got no doubt that they'll continue to do that. Now, Nick, you're a bit of a guinea pig here. I want to have a new segment. I
look like one.
I want to have a new segment in the podcast, and I want to talk about the industry that you're in. You're in the food industry. Yep. What's your favorite food or restaurant podcast?
If I tell you that I don't have any,
then I would say then obviously you need to start one, and that can be your new favorite food podcast.
I actually don't. You know what? I'm a big fan of music. I listen to so much music, but I actually barely listen to podcasts.
Well, there's this great podcast called Migrating to Australia, Nick.
Well, now that it's always about connection. If you don't put yourself out there, no one will know. But it's like me. I'm doing it, and
Oh, we're going to put it everywhere, Nick. We're going to put it everywhere. Tell Grant, tell Nick where we go out to, where we can be listened to, Grant.
Exactly.
Well, I'm going to tell Nick that after he tells me his favorite album.
My favorite. That's. You need to tell me 5 favorite. One favorite.
All right. You can have your top 5. Give me your top 5 Spotify playlist.
5 playlists.
No. You can give me 5 albums, and I'll put them on a Spotify playlist. There we go.
Okay. Well, one to go. It's 1991 Acting Baby of U2.
Yes.
Yeah. Definitely The Dark Side of the Moon, Pink Floyd. Actually, no. You know what? Division Bell. No, it's another one of Pink Floyd, the one with the 2 statues on the. It's the Division Bell.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Division Bell.
You like that better?
Probably that. Yeah, because Roger Waters is not there in the album. It's only David Gilmour. So what else? Turn on the Bright Lights from Interpol.
Yep.
No Vasco Rossi, no Gianna Nannini.
No. God, 2 more.
I would have thought Simple Minds might have been up your street.
Well, Simple Minds are pretty good, yeah. But yeah, not. I'm more like a U2 fan. Big into U2.
Oh, well, you'd have to put the Joshua Tree up there, wouldn't you?
Well, yeah, but you know what? The Joshua Tree is a beautiful. It's the album of the U2. But I think Actum Baby was actually their real album because it's actually the album that tried to break them up. It's the album that consolidate the band even more. And I think there's like some song there that is amazing. Yeah. 2 more. God.
Look, if they don't come to mind, don't force it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have them read them. I've got heaps. But there's so many bands coming out that are like just amazing, and I've got heaps of playlists on my Spotify. I'm just going crazy with the names, and it's too much. It is too much. Yeah.
I hope we haven't been too much, Nicola. It's been fantastic.
No. I can stay. Well, if we were seeing each other, would it be good to have a wine together?
We'll have to do a live. We'll have to do a live at the restaurant when COVID's over. We can come and have a bottle and a chat. Nicola Romano, you've been fantastic, and Ostēr in Bridge Road, Richmond, is wonderful, and everybody listening needs to get to it. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I really appreciate it, guys.
Nick, send over the link of your Spotify playlist.
I'll do it.
And I'll put that up. You can have a bit of time to think about it.
Ciao, Nick.
Thank you very much, guys. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
You were great. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Thanks, guys. Bye.
And of course, you can hear the Migrating to Australia podcast on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. You can find it just looking at Google. You can find it on all of the podcatchers. And we would love it if you share us. And if you feel like telling us how cool we are or how much of a dickhead I am, you can,
you're not. You're amazing.
You can leave us a review because we love them, don't we? It's Benny.
Benny's our favourite, Nick.
Benny.
Benny says all we do is talk about partner visas.
Okay.
And talk over each other. But we love you. It's Benny. Thanks for listening.
All right.
Have a great afternoon. Ciao, Nick.
Thank you very much. Ciao, guys. Thank you.